Hi, I'm John Crowley, and on behalf of my bedbug teammates, I'd like to thank you for watching our presentation tonight, and we look forward to your feedback. We're going to be talking about leadership styles, primarily three different leadership styles. Harleen Candola will be talking about transactional leadership. James Williams will be talking about transformational leadership, and I'll be diving into the topic of servant leadership. So we created a scenario that a patient presents to ER with a headache. Neurological protocol is not followed and the patient is not properly triaged. And subsequently, the patient is released, sent home, and a few hours later, he's admitted to a competing hospital's ER where he's diagnosed with an intracranial bleed, which, as we all know, is potentially a life-threatening situation. And how will each leader react? We're basically going to put these fictional leaders to the test. We're going to address how they directly um, uh, dealt with the situation at the time. We're going to address what they did moving forward and what the leader did well and what the leader didn't do so well. So my topic is servant leadership. His name is Jack. His famous role models are Mother Teresa and Nelson Mandela, very famous servant leaders. Jack's a great listener, shares his power with his staff, and puts the needs of his staff first. One of Jack's focuses is to create future servant leaders, and he's very empathetic and is a humble man. He's gained the trust of his staff by making them feel valued. And Jack is really an emotional healer as well. That's an important aspect of his job, and empowerment as well are core aspects of Jack. So what did Jack do? Immediately he would have went to the employees involved and listened to them. He would have made sure that they were doing okay. He would have consoled them. He would have been hard on the problem and easy on the person. And he would have probably more than likely reassured them that, we're all human, we're going to make mistakes, we're going to do things differently next time, and remind them that things happen and we're going to move forward from this. In moving forward, Jack would have continued to listen to everybody. He would have continued to check back with everyone, and he would have made a very detailed process improvement plan based on all the information that he's gathered over several weeks of trying to figure out what happened and what's going to be the best solution. So what Jack did well is he consoled his staff very well. He was able to empower them to move forward and to move forward with confidence. And he was able, in a sense, be able to rally the team still, which could have been a very critical, life-threatening error. But what Jack didn't do well is one of the drawbacks of servant leadership is that he wasn't at the hospital very long, and servant leaders need to have time to get the employees behind them, to empower them, and to get them to buy into his new processes and protocols. And they tend to be slower. They tend to have to listen to everybody. They tend to have to make sure they're making the right decision. So his process improvement plan would have came out quite a bit later than some of the other leaders did. And servant leaders are hard to find. Hospitals can look for a long period of time to find a true servant leader. And these are my references if you're interested in that. And next up, we have Harleen Candola and transactional leadership. And thank you for your time.
My name is Harleen Candola, and I'll be introducing our transactional leader, Alex. A few things to understand to get to know our transactional leader better are that Alex is very straight and direct, and she values order and structure, and she expects that of her peers as well. Alex has very clear-cut rules and regulations, and if those are not followed, there will be consequences. And on the other hand, if those are obeyed, there will be rewards. So it's safe to say that Alex is a transactional leader that follows the rewards and punishment system. As a transactional leader, Alex pays close attention to order and detail. To understand the characteristics of transactional leaders a little bit better, I provided examples of well-known transactional leaders that Alex relates to: Norman Schwarzkopf and Vince Lombardi. Both come from strict and rule-abiding backgrounds. Norman, a man of the military, values order and structure, while Vince teaches order and detail through the game of football. The recent situation that has occurred in the ER, it is Alex's job as transactional leader to find a solution. Alex needs to find a solution in what to do in the time being, how to prevent this from happening again, and how to move past this. Immediately, Alex figures out where the mistake took place and where the situation went downhill. There are consequences in place, such as write-ups for employees that did not follow protocol. Moving forward from the situation, Alex has decided to implement new and improved rules and regulations that every employee must strictly follow. In this situation, Alex was able to figure out an immediate solution to the problem and prevent the same situation to arise again. Things that Alex did not do well in this situation were that she went into mean boss mode and she was not able to realize that she was coming off as rude. In this situation, she did not listen to her peers, rather she took matters into her own hands. Next up, we have James with transformational leadership.
Thank you, Harleen. Hello, everyone. I would like to introduce you all to my fictional transformation. Ron has good communication skills. He motivates employees to reach for a higher standard. He's good at juggling short-term objectives with long-term goals. He's empathetic and a visionary. Employees love to listen to Ron talk because he's able to paint such a grand picture of the organization. Everyone wants to be a part of it. Here are some well-known transformational leaders from history. We have Abraham Lincoln, which brought about the end of slavery and the Union Army winning the Civil War. Gandhi, who became the spiritual leader of India. He inspired the resistance from colonial rule through nonviolent means. Winston Churchill, who was a prime minister of Great Britain during World War II, he inspired the Allies to defeat Nazi Germany. And lastly, we have John D. Rockefeller, American icon during the Industrial Revolution. So Ron, being the transformational leader that he is in our scenario, immediately continues to try and motivate staff to look beyond the challenge as this being just a minor bump in the road. He believes the rationalization the staff members give him as to why the protocol wasn't being followed that led to the patient being discharged. So moving forward, he tries to reassure the staff that this situation is isolated and that it doesn't define the success of the team. The team will move beyond this and rise above, recommitted to superior service to deliver to patients. So what did he do well? Well, he was able to keep morale up throughout the organization and recommit staff to excellence. So what did he not do so good? Well, being the transformational leader that he is, he was unable to drill down the specifics. This was such an isolated, with this being such an isolated incident, he could be too focused on the big picture and not able to drill down the specifics. So Ron has fallen into a situation that can plague most transformational leaders, and that is narcissism and a lack of detail. He believes his enthusiasm a bit too much. He also believes that since this problem hasn't happened during his tenure at the hospital, it could have been a result from the Swiss cheese effect, in which everything that could go wrong did. He is limited in his broad view of the situation. This lack of detail can put off most of his employees. This might make them feel like Ron didn't handle the situation appropriately, which could end up eating away at his credibility over time and ultimately lower morale, since excellence isn't really being followed. In conclusion, we had a very specific scenario in which each of us wanted to see how each of our fictional leaders with different leadership styles would handle the situation. We had Jack with the servant style. We had Alex with our transactional style. And of course, we had Ron with our transformational style. We looked at how each one would handle the staff directly involved and how each leader handled all staff moving forward. Although there are a large variety of different leadership styles, not all of them fit every situation. In the end, we did come up with a consensus, and we feel that transactional leadership would be best suited because we felt that this was a very acute situation and that it commands a type of leader that has a great attention to detail, and that is the traits of the transactional leader. It's important to understand that every situation commands a different leadership style, as well as communication style. And with knowing the different styles, we'll be able to be better able to shift our perspective to whatever situation we as leaders are faced with.